Charlie Munger once said, "It is remarkable how much long-term advantage people like us have gotten by trying to be consistently not stupid instead of trying to be very intelligent." Personally, I like this quote a lot, especially because while every textbook, every advice is asking us to be more intelligent, smarter, and sharper, Charlie Munger is giving the inverse of the advice. That is, do not be stupid. For the uninitiated, Charlie Munger is the vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, the conglomerate controlled by Warren Buffett. He's also Buffett's best buddy. Munger is known as a sidekick only to the people who do not know him very well. To those who do know him, Charlie is a fiercely independent intellectual who, in the words of his partner Warren Buffett, marches to the beat of his own music, and it's music like virtually no one else is listening to. Besides his work co-headlining the Berkshire Affair and a variety of other businesses and philanthropic ventures, Charlie is known for his fluent and multidisciplinary mind. Trained as a meteorologist during World War II and as a lawyer at Harvard before devoting himself to business, Munger has drawn heavily from the study of psychology, economics, physics, biology, and history, among other disciplines, in developing his system of multiple mental models to cut through difficult situations in complex social systems. It is a system like no other. He was one of the few who managed to be commissioned during World War II as an officer without a college degree. He then went on to the University of Michigan, followed by Caltech, and then to Harvard Law School. His insights on business and life are unique, rare, and correct with unusual consistency. Speeches and writings made long ago stand up in their logic and validity even today as much as when they were written, given their basis in the deeply fundamental wisdom of the world. Munger believed that rather than trying to be very intelligent, if you try not being stupid, you can live a life free of any misery. There are a couple of things we have to do to avoid making stupid decisions. 4 things to be precise. Firstly, we must know our competencies. Unlike many others who have studied at several elite institutions, it is intriguing that Munger doesn't encourage people to seek out brilliance. There's no talk of how we should aim to change the world. Rather, Munger focuses on not making big mistakes. One of the ways Charlie Munger has tried to avoid making stupid decisions is by sticking to what he calls his circle of competence. It's the same rule that Warren Buffett lives by and is why Berkshire Hathaway has been consistently so successful. I've spoken in details about the circle of competence in a separate episode. The link is given in the description. Make sure to check it out. The circle of competence is easy to understand. The idea is that each of us, through experience and study, has acquired useful knowledge in specific fields. Munger proposes that we stick to these competencies that we are truly adept at and exercise caution when asked to venture outside our circle. For instance, we might have experience running a restaurant, but we should be careful to think that we could manage a biotech company effectively as well. The economics of each business vary greatly. This is why both Buffett and Munger have been averse to the technology sector when it comes to investing. They have been heavily criticized for missing the rise of companies such as Google and Amazon, but many fail to realize that they have avoided the dot-com bubble as well. Their track record suggests that they have done better than many of their critics. How interesting. It's incredible that Munger has always been able to hold out even against the tide of popular opinion. It requires a great deal of self-awareness and humility to acknowledge your own limitations, especially if you're holding a high office such as Munger or Warren Buffett. Munger, interestingly, knows this very well, for he once said, "There must be some wisdom in the folk saying, it's the strong swimmers who drown." Secondly, we should explore the different ways of winning. People assume that you have to be smarter and better than your peers in order to move ahead. You have to do something different if you're going to score any points, but that is not necessarily true. In his book, Extraordinary Tennis for the Ordinary Player, Simon Ramos says that the game of tennis could be subdivided into two games, the professionals and the rest of us. He observed that while the rules of tennis remain the same, the way points are scored are radically different. Professionals at Wimbledon have to work to score points. Each player, only fractionally better than their opponent, plays a nearly perfect game. They rally back and forth until one player hits the ball just beyond the reach of their opponent. It's what you see on the highlight reels. In contrast, amateur tennis is an entirely different game. There are no long and powerful rallies. Mistakes are frequent. Double faults are nearly as common as faults. As Ramos writes, "The amateur duffer seldom beats his opponent, but he beats himself all the time. The victor in this game of tennis gets a higher score than the opponent, but he gets the higher score because his opponent is losing even more points." The phenomena of the loser's game can be observed everywhere. It's the amateur player who blunders and loses all his pieces in the game of chess. Also at work, the clueless employee flouts an unspoken rule and is subsequently passed over for promotion. Similarly, in the world of investing, it is the day trader who gets burned competing with seasoned professionals and complex algorithms. I don't propose that we spend our entire lives avoiding mistakes. That is not what I'm saying. An approach like this would be soul-crushing. We must have permission to suck if we want to attempt anything new or get better at our craft. But when it comes to high-stakes decision-making, we must never confuse ourselves. We are amateurs the moment we step outside our circle of competence, but most of us refuse to play like one. They pretend to be experts. Instead of trying to make a highlight play, we would be better off sticking to the fundamentals. It is far easier to get ahead by just playing conservatively and outlasting the competition. Not many people get that. Thirdly, we have to leverage the power of mental models. Such ideas are all fine and good, but what approach should we use in an ever-changing world? It's difficult to make the correct decisions consistently amidst the variety of challenges that we face daily. Munger, surprisingly, has never taken a course in business, economics, or accounting. Somehow, he has still managed to thrive in his role as vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway. The way he has accumulated such knowledge and wisdom is by building a latticework of mental models. He says, well, the first rule is that you can't really know anything if you just remember isolated facts and try to bang them back. If the facts don't hang together on a latticework of theory, you don't have them in a usable form. By accumulating knowledge from various disciplines and stringing them together in a pattern, Munger has built mental models that he can apply to different situations. There is immense complexity around us, with thousands of variables that we cannot possibly account for. But mental models give us a framework on how we can best approach a problem. No model is inherently perfect. David Clark captures this truth and Munger's characteristic wit in the book The Tao of Charlie Munger with this remark: knowing what you don't know is more useful than being brilliant. Perhaps this is the most important thing that we can take away from Munger. And lastly, we should always play the long game. Charlie Munger realizes that the only way to overcome the problem of false knowledge is to keep adding new ideas and models to one's repository. Constantly challenging one's ideas is the only way to improve and have better models. He does this by reading a lot. As a young lawyer, he decided that he would invest an hour each day in improving himself. At $20 an hour, he decided that he was his most important client. On reading, he says, "We read a lot. I don't know anyone who's wise who doesn't read a lot. But that is not enough. You have to have the temperament to grab ideas and do sensible things. Most people don't grab the right ideas or don't know what to do with them." Continuous learning and remaining open to new ideas is how Munger has become such a deep thinker. He has made sure that he's constantly exposed to ideas from different fields. He has remained a student, a lifelong student. We would be wise to do the same as well. Acquiring mental models and avoiding mistakes add up over the long run. Each step you take may be small, but over a lifetime they compound to become the success that Charlie Munger is. All it requires is patience and the ability to play the long game. If we can do that, we as well will be able to succeed at what we do. Oh, hi. Is this already over? I didn't realize it. Today I chose to stay behind the screen and present in a different way. Did you enjoy it? Let me know. Good or bad, I'm okay. Right? And the methods I discussed, are you already following some of them? Or is there something that I missed you think is very important, that is something important that you want to share? Either way, let me know by leaving a comment below right now. Right, and if you enjoyed watching this video, please give it a thumbs up so that I can know it, right? There is no other way other than a comment to let me know about it. And also, if you want to learn more about such topics such as life strategy, decision making, mental models, Charlie Munger, more Charlie Munger. If you are interested, then please do subscribe. I am a huge fan of Charlie Munger. I believe that we can learn a lot from his strategies, his tactics, his overall philosophy, right? And I want to talk more about that, right? So do subscribe. You'll love it. I'll enjoy it. And yeah, I want to thank my patrons for supporting this video. My work, everything, all this won't be possible without my patrons. And if you wish to know how you can pledge your support, please visit coffeeandjunk.com/pledge and you'll find everything you want to know. I'll see you next week with more Charlie Munger maybe, but surely more wit and more wisdom. Till then, stay awesome and peace.